All right, everyone. We're going to kick it off with my session with a request. And request number one is wherever you are, if you are decent, please turn on your webcams for about 2 minutes. That's all I request, for about 2 minutes. Let me see where you are. So let's turn on our webcams for a while. Ooh, lots of webcams coming up. Cool, cool. Okay, I'm going to give you only about 10 seconds more. Some people are in masks, so that's good. I should be in the mask right now, but that's okay. All right, everybody show me thumbs up. Everybody got thumbs up? Okay, so unless you're holding a phone, this tells me you're actually on the laptop somewhere. Okay, so got thumbs. Is this your left or right hand? All right, on your left hand, give me a thumb and a finger like that. Cool. On your right hand, give me 4 fingers like that. Okay, these are 4 fingers. Now I'm going to do a bit of a test, right? When I say switch, I want you to change this into a 4, change this into a 2. Ready? Switch. 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 Well done, well done. Okay, let's do something else. Give me a little bunny rabbit over here. Little bunny rabbit. Okay, bunny rabbits don't have 3 ears, 2 ears. And give me a gun. We're going to do something in Ramadan right now. When I say shoot, I want you to shoot the bunny rabbit. Ready? Here we go. Shoot. 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 Okay, what is that? Shoot. Shoot. Somebody actually came up with 3 ears. So give yourselves a round of applause. All right. That's all I need from your webcams to begin with. What I want you to be able to take away from this is, number one, change always happens, right? There are trainers, there are educators who went through the blackboard phase and then the OHP phase. Anybody who's young enough to remember OHP, overhead projectors with little transparency things. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go and Google OHP. And then PowerPoint. And I was at that point in time where I noticed my lecturers moving on to PowerPoint, and they were complaining to me, why are we expected to use all these computer stuff? This is 1990s. Why are we expected to use all these computer stuff, PowerPoint? Wow, so difficult. And that's happening now when people are transitioning online. That's happening because change comes and we don't change fast enough. We don't make the choice to change. So what happens? Change rolls over us. So the fact that you're here today, the fact that you're sitting right now in front of your laptops, in front of your phones, wanting to learn from Dr. Rose, wanting to learn from me and Rizal and Zaid, shows that you are committed, shows that you have that intention. Keep that intention strong. There's so many things on the internet. There's so many people you can learn from, and all you need to do is just invest your time and effort. So today, with my session, I'm going to continue from Dr. Rose, and I'm going to talk about how do we engage? Not just the design, because Dr. has talked about the design. So how do we facilitate learning and how do we engage learners? Now, let me explain facilitate learning first. Why don't we say teach? Why don't we say train, right? Where I come from, we use a particular, we have a particular mindset where facilitate means to make easy, right? And as much as student-centered learning or participant-centered teaching is there, we take this into account. When a human being learns, we must teach them the way they prefer to learn or the way their brain likes to learn. So when you understand that, it is much easier to get it in there. So what we say, the word facilitate means to make easy, to make simple, and then learning is that process by which they get that information. So 3 things I want you to remember, and which it dovetails a little bit with the ARCS model. 3 things I want you to remember, just 3 things. Number 1 is you want to capture the attention of your learners, of your participants. Number 2 is you want to keep them engaged. And number 3, very important, if they don't do an action, then there is no evidence. There is no way for you to know whether they are engaging with the content or not. So look back to what Dr. Rose did very early on. She got you to go to menti.com. Now, she could have just talked about it and say, okay, I want you to think about this, but thinking is not measurable. She cannot see whether you're actually doing something. So there are 54 people in this room, I believe. There are 62 people in this room. When Dr. Rose said, go to menti.com, how many actually popped up? Which means that only half of the class actually went to menti.com and actually did it. So from there, you as an instructor, you as a lecturer, you can actually see, okay, half of the class is not engaged. So what do I need to do? I need to ramp up the engagement even further. How do you engage? Well, if you're in a classroom, face-to-face, there are many things you can do. But when you're in cyberspace like this, and there's so much space in between us, then you want to use what people can see, you want to use what people can hear, and in terms of activities, the best you can do is provide concrete instructions. First example, visual, right? What you can see. Type into the text chat, please. Because my computer is a brand new computer, right? So I have a really good graphics card. Type into the text chat, how real does this background look? Tell me in the text chat, please. How real does this background look? Real or not? Rizal says real, very real. Real, looks real. Okay, cool. Who says there's fuzz? You can see from the green screen, you can see fuzz around my fingers. Seems real? Okay. Yes, real? Okay, well done. Well, Shakira says, I thought it's your actual wall. Well, I live in a house that is not impressive, so I don't actually have a wall like this. This is not a wall in my house. Okay. What this actually is a 2 ringgit picture from Kedai 2 ringgit Eco Shop. That is, you can hear it, right? That is a plastic board. That's a plastic board with 2 ringgit wallpaper on it. And why do I do this? Why don't I just give you a virtual background? Well, number one, I can interact with it. I can play. I can make it do this, right? And I can shock people. That's number one. Number two is you want to have a background that engages people, that keeps people curious. So this is actually, I can remove this and I can replace it with anything I want. I can print out stuff and I can hang it there. I can make, according to what I'm teaching, the theme. So number one is what people see. Okay. Number two is what people hear, and it's your voice. And over certain platforms like Zoom, you can actually play songs. You can actually go to YouTube and then share songs. And number three, what people do. Okay, so capture their attention, get them to engage, and then get them to do something. So for example, when I ask you to show me your palms, right? Did I ask you to go up here first or your thumbs first? It was thumbs first. And why? Because this is a small investment. If you have a classroom and you have not built rapport with them yet, what happens is they don't trust you as much. Maybe it's your very first class. So what you want to ask from there is a small investment of action. Don't go, okay, everybody, left hand 2, right hand 4. You're going to find a lot of people are, why do we do this? So what you do is you give ask for a small investment. Okay, show me your thumbs. Everybody show me your thumbs. And then you can immediately see, especially if it's on webcam, you can see who are the slow ones, who are the more, the people who are a bit doubtful. Which is why class sizes shouldn't be very big, especially if you insist all the webcams to be on. So if you want to do a class, a virtual class, and you want to watch everyone, you can either watch yourself on your own or have a co-host. Have someone on the side, like a producer, to be able to identify, cikgu, ini budak dia dia tak cakap yes, dia tak cakap no, dia hilang. Okay, so I say go and find out what's happening. Engage personally or maybe PM, which means that you must have as many channels of communication with them. So today, in as quick as possible, I'm going to show you some examples. Nadzrin is very traditional. As much as I love tools, as much as I love Kahoot and Menti and stuff like that, I am very traditional in that I believe that you are more important than the tool. And I like to quote, actually it's been re-quoted so many times, I like to quote one of my mentors, Professor Abdul Karim Alias, you might know him from USM. He says a fool with a tool is still a fool. So even if you use PowerPoint or Keynote or Mac or Apple, or you use Menti, you use Kahoot, if you don't know how to use it creatively in your session, you're going to either overload them with too much information, too much tools, too much irrelevant activities, or worse, you might not understand it very well and you go, oh, how to start this? I don't know how to start this. So be smart, be creative. That's more important than the variety of tools that you use, right? Zaid says a fool with the tools and even bigger fool. Well, the word tool itself means someone who's not smart, right? So a fool with a tool is a tool. So 3 things to remember: attention, engagement, action. Now, before we go into examples of how you can do this without using tools, I'm going to show you examples that you can use just on PowerPoint or Keynote, whatever. You don't need a lot of fantastic tools out there. And remember, right, tools, they come and go. They get updated every single day. Did you know that Microsoft Teams has the ability to do breakout rooms? They call them channels. But there's more. So now you can stream, not now, but soon you can stream from Microsoft Teams onto Facebook, which is weird. But a lot of these tools are competing with each other. Every day you see and update something new. So you don't want to be beholden to only one tool. Yes, be expert, master this tool, but be prepared to switch whenever something happens, like a policy change or internet issues or things like that. So master one tool, have a backup tool, and then make sure you have a wide knowledge of all the others as well. So for me, my typical engagement tool or video conferencing tool is Zoom, but I can also use WebEx. I can also use MS Teams. Granted, each of them have different functionalities, pros and cons, but I prefer Zoom. So whenever possible with my clients, I say I prefer Zoom because of the functionality. If they say cannot, then I say, okay, so here's what to expect, right? When that happens, I'll need to redesign it a little bit. So what you do is you must design your workshop, your classes for the lowest common, factor. So if you design very high level, you want to use all of these tools, suddenly your students are in areas where these tools cannot be accessed, right? What do you do? So here's what I want to share with you. When I say that the teacher is more important than the tool, I want to talk to you about the teaching spectrum, right? Spectrum of engagement. What are the approaches that you can use? And I call this teaching spectrum engagement, the spectrum goes from collaboration to control, where we work a lot with them, right? We co-discover with them, to control, saying this is the only way to do it. Don't deviate from this, okay? So what are some examples? Well, the first one I call a sage. And a sage is a subject matter expert, a lot of stories, a lot of background, a lot of experience. And then, if you've been to webinars where the sage just talks and talks and talks and talks and talks and talks, and I've been to a couple of these, supposed to be 1 hour, it became 2 hours, and I'm sitting there, sudah 2 jam kah? I'm like, how is that possible? When you find someone who can storytell and they use voice inflections and it's so engaging, they don't actually get you to do anything. So remember the 3 things: attention, engagement, action. Even if they don't get you to do something, sages have the ability to be able to engage you just by the stories, move your brain just by what they say to you, what you see on their face. And in many cases, sages don't use slides as much. Sometimes they put one photo up and then they debrief, they talk about that photo, but you will not see bullet points for a sage approach. Then we come to a facilitator, starts using more slides, right? A bit more visuals, but usually to ask questions or to create discussion. And this is where the co-creation comes in, right? With Sage, you can ask any question. Sometimes Sage will go off tangent. Okay, so I would like to predict that one of our friends who said, I had a lecturer who likes to go off tangent and tell a lot of stories. I would predict that that person use a lot of Sage approach, right? Very unstructured, likes to bounce around. Facilitator also unstructured, but only from the audience's point of view. From the facilitator's point of view, he or she knows exactly where they're heading, knows the process they are working through. And then we have what I call teacher. And don't misunderstand that the terminologies, they might not match your definition. What I call a teacher is someone who says, this is the knowledge you want to get, okay? I will measure you on retention. Okay, so how much you remember, how much you understand, I'll measure you on that. And last one is instructor. Instructor will say, you don't play a fool. You do as I say. You don't deviate from this, okay? So instructor mode is reserved for things that are very high compliance, high safety. For example, if you're teaching finance, you can't use Sage as much. Because if you use Sage, suka hati nak buat macam ni, doesn't work. If you're teaching medicine, if you're teaching oil and gas, if you're teaching manufacturing, if you're teaching engineering, right? There is more of an instructor approach than there is all the others. So this is a spectrum, which means that if you're running a long class, you can actually switch between these 4. You can actually go one or the other, depending on what's necessary for you. So when you want to impart actual knowledge, and you can say, okay, calm down everyone, let's walk through this one by one. When you want them to do exactly as is, for example, baking a cake, you have to use instructor for baking a cake. You cannot use instructor for cooking maybe, because cooking, you know, you mess up a little bit, you can, that's what your mom likes to say, secukup rasa. What is secukup rasa? How much is secukup rasa? Or agak-agak. You cannot agak-agak when you're baking a cake, okay? How many people have baked a cake with agak-agak? I'm telling you, your cake tak jadi. Why? Because you get it off by a few hundred grams, then you don't have a cake anymore. You just have something to throw away, okay? So these 4 approaches are used, you choose when you want to use them, because they are all useful for different parts of the learning. Okay, so I see in the text chat something. Let's see what's there. Dr. Rose, can you read out what's in the text chat? Because I am having trouble finding it, just like you did.
There is just a comment by Zaid. What a choice for an instructor. Ha ha ha, good one. Okay. And
well, out of all of them, she's the bad. Well, I can't say it today. Right? she is the one that is no nonsense, right? I would have put Hulk there, but he's all over the place. So yes.
And a comment from Dr. Ma'an.
I agree.
In engineering, problem solving, there is plenty of room for creativity.
Agreed. Which means that when you teach it, you can cycle between these 4. If you are only instructor when you teach engineering, you produce copies, you produce clones, and no innovators. So, which is why I'm saying on the spectrum, you need to choose which parts, which roles do you play, which approaches do you use in which parts of the design of that program. All right. Thank you, Dr. Man, for that. Okay. So here's what I do. Okay. And I'm not saying this is the best way of doing it. This is how I run my virtual classes. When you run classes, a lot of people say, oh, we want to build rapport. Well, I've tried that. And what happens is it takes up a lot of the class time. So what I do is, especially for corporate, right? What I do is I add them to a WhatsApp group about 7 days before. And then I slowly build up rapport between myself and them and themselves. And yes, WhatsApp, just by text, it can be done. People can be bonded emotionally. I had one of my participants. She used the techniques I taught her. She ran a meditation course on WhatsApp, 2 cycles. She ran a meditation course over WhatsApp, and it was a big hit because of specifically saying what you need to say in the WhatsApp. You need to be very clear. You need to be very concise. You cannot use the words maybe or sometime or somebody. When it's text, you need to be very specific who you're referring to, what needs to be done. So you need to be very, very careful when you're doing this. Second is I always give them a material repository to work through. And some of you might recognize this logo. This is Google Classroom. So I get them to jump in and sometimes do a treasure hunt, sometimes do random tasks. The tasks themselves are not important. They think it's important, but I want them to familiarize themselves with the everything in Google Classroom. Where are the assignments? Where's everything uploaded to? So the first thing I get them to do is a treasure hunt. But more than that, I give them really random tasks. Don't tell anybody. Is there any of my students here? But the idea is this. Whatever task you give them, whether it looks real or not, you need to get them familiar with what's going on within that classroom. Otherwise, halfway through, cikgu tak jumpa lah, where is the PDF? Aduh. So we set that up first, then we do the class. And in my virtual classes, if I run at 8 a.m., at 7:30 a.m., I will be on WhatsApp and say, all right, who's joining us today? Okay, we're going to have a lot of fun. Here's what we're going to walk through today. And then message will come, yes, I'm coming, teacher. I'm coming, teacher. I'm coming. Oh, I cannot come, teacher, today. All right. So we'll record the session for you, but we'll be having fun without you. So these are the things that I do to be able to get them engaged and encouraged. And in some cases, this is the first class, the guy kata I tak boleh datang. The second class, I have something to do today, but I still want to join the class because I watched the recording, I tak puas hati. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of the engagement. So that's how you cycle them a little bit. Now, the way I run my classes, I tend to use less webcam and more of the slides because I tend to teach more knowledge-based, more technical things, right? I don't teach more at a sage level. So I apply what Salman Khan, not the actor, not the pelakon, what Salman Khan of Khan Academy says. He says that when you teach something very technical, very specific, then mute your webcam. When you mute your webcam, then they can focus on what's there. But you notice if you do sage, right? Sage is more emotional. It's more an emotional connection. So you need that face. You need those hands. You need those body language. You need this to be able to connect and engage with them. And last but not least, run simple activities. Virtual class, don't do complex activities. Save that for the assignments later. Because on the assignments, you can have all the specific instructions. In class, run simple activities that get them prepared for the assignment. Why? Because you need to know whether they can do it or not. So if you take your assignment and work backwards, right? So if you do OBE, break down that assignment. What are the components of the assignment that they need to master in order to do assignment? For example, they need to download a PDF. So you give them an activity inside your Zoom, inside your classroom right now, download something, right? So give them, break that down for them. And because I do a lot of work in corporate, my classes tend not to be long. They don't tend to be like 14 weeks. It's usually like 2 weeks, 6 hours. So I need to really understand whether they understand. Now, Dr. Rose, do a time check for me. How many minutes do I have left?
You have about...
Okay, cool. I got a couple of minutes. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to show you some simple activities you can do without needing Menti, without needing Kahoot, without needing any tools. Okay, first off, let's talk about how do we teach critical thinking, right? How do you teach critical thinking using your slides? Now, I'm going to show you a picture, and I want everyone to type into the text chat. Here's my request. Don't think. Okay, you can think, but I want you to type fast. The moment you see this picture, I want you to type in the first thing that comes into your head. Fingers on the keyboard. Ready? Here we go. I'll show you the picture. Type in the first thing that comes to mind. Go. Oh my God. Rude. Angry, cursing. William Handsome. Okay. So, okay, all right. We're good. Thank you very much. Now, let me ask, how many people have seen this photo before? Know the context, please type in why. All right, well done. So this is Prince William of the UK, and this photo was taken from one angle. And if we want to talk about critical thinking, we want to debrief critical thinking, and we show another photo, and we say, did you jump to a conclusion? And that captures their attention, that engages them. Like, oh, Lamar, I jumped to a conclusion without gathering enough data, without validating, without being sure. I did not tabayun. Your students should know this. Okay. So for those who have seen it before, they know the trick. But for those who have never seen it, they jump to conclusions. Where do you jump to conclusions a lot? Social media, Facebook. But you read the title of the article and immediately you comment, right? So if we don't like other people doing that to us, we cannot do that to other people. Which means that when information comes to us, we need to process it properly, make sure it's correct, understand its validity, and discriminate, tell the difference whether it is something from a good source or not good source, and then you make decision based on that, not jump to conclusion. All right, one more. Creative thinking.
That's interesting, Nadzrin.
Yes, it is very interesting. So I'm going to skip over this because I want you to do this one next. Here I'll find the words. Type into the text chat all the words you can find. I'll give you 20 seconds. Ready, go. You have 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, family, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Okay, let's see what we have here. We have book, we have story, we have words, page, novel, and nobody got read, I think. Okay, let's try one more. 10 seconds this time. Go. Oh, somebody got puddle. Not bad. Damp. Cuddle? Cuddle shower? Raining. No, is it raining? I don't think it's raining there. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, stop. Let's see what you missed. Oh, clouds. People miss clouds. Stormy, puddle, wet, shower, and of course them. Okay, here's my last gift to you before I sign out. Let's go. 5 seconds only. Ready, set, go. Frost, 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 frost. Defrost. Hill. Somebody got hill. Where is it? Where do you find hill? Time's up. Okay, fantastic, guys. Let's take a look what you missed. Frost. Ice. Anybody got ice? Mittens. Snow. Boots. And chill. So, wrapping that up, capture attention, get engagement, and have them do actions. The more action you do, the more engaged they are. When they are not engaged and they're not doing actions, you have a producer by the side identifying which students are not doing it. So that means that if you really want to run a class where discipline is there, okay, so you need to first give the students a reason to be engaged. And then on the back end, then you have the stick. Carrot first, then stick. So that's all from me. If you have any questions, we'll reserve that for later after Rizal and Zaid session. But I'm going to hand this back to Dr. Rose. Are you the moderator or do I just pass over to Rizal?
Just pass over.
Okay. So Rizal, all yours. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you a little bit later in the Q&A.